Episode 2 of Dunder and Lightning. Guys, we got some free stuff. Oh! As I said, guys, this is episode 2 of Dunder and Lightning, where we talk all things distilling. Today, we are going to do a plum mash. I know at the end of the last episode I said I was going to do a bourbon. However, I've been gifted about 20 to 30 kilos of plums by a very nice neighbor. And as a home distiller, you never, ever, ever turn down free sugar or fruit because then you can make some stuff with it. So today we're going to make a 60-litre wash of a plum wash that I'm hopefully going to get a decent yield out of. I'm looking at maybe 5 to 7 litres out of the still of a plum brandy that I'm then going to fortify a plum wine with, which I think in my head that sounds pretty damn good. So that's what we're going to do today. And basically there's no recipe at this stage. I'll write the recipe once we're done, if it works out well. If it doesn't, I won't post the recipe. But we're just pretty much going to wing it. I've bought some sugar, I bought some raw sugar, which I think might go alright in the wash that's going to go through the still, give it a little bit of a caramel background. And we're going to see how we go. So if you're not scared to fail, just wing it. Right there, got some plums in some water. Pretty simple. Do it. It's 6 kilos of plums in that cooker right there. I've topped it up with water. I'm going to cook it away. I'm going to see what my starting gravity is, and we're going to go from there. If it's too low, I'm probably going to have to add some sugar. Alright guys, that was a hell of a lot of work. 3 hours I think, probably more. Pulping up all those plums took a while, it was messy. Don't do it when your wife's home because she'll go mental. It gave me a starting gravity of 1.040, which was not what I wanted at all, so I've had to add sugar. I was going to add some raw sugar anyway, but I've added way more than I thought I'd have to. I've added 4 kilos of raw sugar and 6 kilos of Castor Sugar, normal sugar, and that's pumped it up to 1.070, and that's a lot better. I would have rather done a whole fruit or majority of fruit, but it's looking like it's half and half, which is one or two of the recipes I've seen online is pretty much the same, unless you got your hands on hundreds of kilos of plums. So that's where we're at. We've had to adapt, which is what I like about this hobby. It throws challenges at you sometimes. This is not a waste. It'll still taste good. I tasted some of it. Tastes like a plum jam. It bloody beautiful. So I'm looking forward to putting that through the still at some stage. I've just hydrated my yeast, as you can see here. It's all bubbling away. It's pretty much ready to go in now. If you're wondering, that's the yeast I'm using. So it's Mangrove Jack's SN9 premium wine yeast. It's the only yeast that they had at the brew shop when I went there. So that's all I have to use. It's got a alcohol tolerance of about 18%. So it should be fine to use, and hopefully gives it some fruity flavors in there as well. So I've run out of sugar to do the wine today, and I've also run out of time. So I'll see you tomorrow. Day 2. It's wine time. I've got 5 kilos of plums in here already cooking away. I'm going to mash that all up like I did, exactly what I did yesterday. Hopefully I won't have to add so much sugar because we're going to aim for about 16 litres of wine instead of the 60 litres we have for the still. I shouldn't have to put too much sugar in here. So hopefully it should be all right. Guys, if you haven't made wine before, it's pretty bloody simple. It's exactly the same as making a mash for the still, except in this, we're going to try and stop the fermentation before it runs dry because we want some sugar left in the ferment, so then it carries over when you put a bit of your distillate in, and it tastes really like kind of like a syrupy, like a port, or like any of your fortified wines. Still has a bit of sugar in there. So that's what we're going to try and do today. Let's get mashing because I'm over this. The mashing has been completed. Hard work. What a pain in the ass. So what we've done here, we've filled it up to 23 litres here. I know that's further than I wanted to go, but as you can probably see in the video, there's a nice thick layer of residue from the plums. That'll sit there, and when I finish fermenting this out, I'll rack that off, and we should have around about where we want it at 16 litres. I've started hydrating my yeast in there. This is really nice. I tasted that just before. We ended up adding 5 kilos of sugar to the wine, and that's brought it up to 1.300, which is quite high, I know, but we're going to stop this fermenting out at 1.010, leaving some sugar in the wine, because when we fortify it, we want some sugars left in there so it's not really bitter. We want to keep it that nice, smooth, port, fortified wine feel. And if you let that sit and age out with some wood, let me tell you, that by the fireside is Mickey Mouse. So that's where we're at the moment. I'll check in with this in a couple of days, make some readings, and then we'll see where we're at, and we might stop it. I've added some citric acid and some Pectinase. The Pectinase is to break down the skins and to bring out the tannin a little bit. And that's where we're at the moment. I'll list the recipe right here for the wine. I don't need to go through the whole thing. If you've got any questions, comment in the section below. And I'll get back to you once this is all done and fermented. Woo! I stupidly thought I'd be able to fit all of this into the one video. However, at the 8-minute mark, it's getting a little bit long in the tooth. So we'll see you over at part 2.